Welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station Travel Show with your host Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith. We're the mother-daughter travel team and publishers of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine, as well as Parks and Travel magazine. And a lot of you know we travel full-time, going across the country, documenting parks and their communities on our Love Your Parks tour. And one of our most favorite destinations in 2019, I have to say, is Santa Fe. They say it's the city different, and every time you turn around, there's art, the cultural roots run deep. It is beautiful. The setting is incredible. It just really is a city that's really true to itself, and it doesn't even feel like a city. It's just a beautiful, beautiful destination. We were there in the summer, and travel writer Linda Kissam, you know her, the food, wine, and shopping diva, went there in November for the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association conference. Now, you know the diva is the president of that.
Well, of course.
Of IFTWA, as we say. So she got to go and experience a different side than what Nancy and I got to do. She went on a guided tour of the I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but someone will help me here, San Ildefonso Pueblo. Her guide was Elmer.
That is correct.
Did I get it right, Elmer? Good.
That is correct.
I get a star. Her guide is Elmer Torres, who's right here with us. He is the former governor of San Ildefonso Pueblos. We also have Linda here today for our conversation, as well as Joanne Hudson of Tourism Santa Fe. Now you can read Linda's story. It is up on nationalparktraveling.com right now. It's also featured in the winter issue of Parks and Travel magazine. So just go to nationalparktraveling.com for that. Also for Santa Fe, go to santafe.org. And also to learn more about Elmer's tours, go to passportpueblocountry.com. So welcome back, Diva Linda.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be back, and I'm very happy to be sharing this particular story this time, this destination. It was really something else, really special.
We when we read your story and looked at the photos, Nancy and I both said, okay, we're jealous. I know that's not a good quality to have, but it really looked special. And I wish we met Elmer when we were in Bandelier, a national monument. So I'm glad we're all together today. But welcome back, Joanne. How are you?
I am doing well. It's a beautiful day here in Santa Fe, and excited to share about the nearby Pueblo communities.
Excellent.
And experiences that visitors can have there.
It's part of what makes
cultures.
you the city different, right?
It is. The blending of the Native American, Spanish, and Anglo cultures here in Santa Fe has produced just this rich culture and unique history that visitors can still experience today.
It's amazing, and you guys have kept true integrity of your city and your region, preserving the history, and then having this kind of interpretation of it too is really special. Elmer, welcome to the show. We hope you are our guide when we come back. We want to come hang out with you. Elmer, I do want to touch on this, and it's the first thing Linda covers in her article, what a Pueblo is, because it's a little different than where we are today. We're in Yuma, Arizona, and so we have two different reservations, actually three, the Cocopah, the Kissam, and down the road, the Odom. So that's a little different than Pueblo, correct?
Well, the Pueblo is actually the word Pueblo is a Spanish word, and it just translated into a village. And the difference between those tribes in Arizona and here in New Mexico is we have a central plaza, central location, where we have homes in the surrounding area of the plaza, which is totally much different than those that you see that are tribes in Arizona or out in the west or the east. They're kind of scattered here and there, don't really have a main central plaza area, and that's the way the difference is between those pueblos here in New Mexico and the others in the surrounding states.
And you speak Tewa. Tewa, is that the language of your tribe?
Yes, that is our native tribe, native language that we do speak around here. In fact, from San Ildefonso is our Pueblo, and there's 5 other in the surrounding area that we speak the same language. Plus, there's one tribe in Arizona, which is the Hopi tribe, and the First Mesa, they're called themselves the Hopi Tewas, and they also speak the Tewa language. So we can actually converse with each other.
Elmer, I think it's really exciting that you're in the Parks and Travel magazine for our January-February issue, because we have Tewa artist Jason Garcia, who's also in the magazine, and he's from I think it's the Santa Clara Pueblo, so that's not far from you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh no, it's only 6 miles. 6 miles north, and I also know Jason as well.
Oh wow!
I've known him. Known him for years.
Wow. So this is a small world here. Linda,
it is.
you were saying as you were driving into New Mexico, because you went from Arizona, southern Arizona up there, there's this, you can see the land change. To me, there's just when they say land of enchantment for New Mexico, it really is true. There's just even the geology, and you can just feel the history. Did you have that experience driving up into there and then going out into the Pueblo and Bandelier, just like the land of enchantment?
Yeah, I think, it was really interesting. I was so busy that I wasn't really paying attention to how long it was going to take me to drive, or what was shortest versus what was longest. And so we took a tour through the hills and the mountains, and there's just a time that comes that you begin to see all the colors. The light is phenomenal. Just everything is different. It's different than, Arizona. Who would know? I would have thought it would have been quite a bit like it, but it is not. And I know that it's a good thing to drive into it, I think, almost better than taking a flight in, because you get the layout and you get to see the colors. The colors are just, I think that's why probably so many artists like to go there. The colors are just phenomenal. And since my drive was about 8 hours, I got to see, morning, noon, and evening. And I don't know, Santa Fe wasn't what I expected. It was so much more than I could have ever expected. And the fact that we took the side trip to the Pueblo was just amazing. And the way that this tour was structured was so interesting. We were picked up at the hotel, and then we went right to hiking. And although I wasn't able to do the 1.5 mile hike because of my back, my husband went, and the other riders went. Some of the other riders went. Joanne was kind enough to stay with me. But the experience, you have to go up ladders, and you're on cliffs, and you're with the eagles, and you're with the petrographs, and I mean, you're with everything. I mean, it's just, and there's sacred parts, and you just feel it. You can just feel it in your bones. I don't think I've quite been on an experience like this in a destination. It's really super special. And then from the hike, we went to a pottery demonstration in Elmer's home right while lunch was being made. And this is something different. I've seen 100 really over in the world. I've seen 100 pottery demonstrations, but never have I seen the blessing that goes on the pottery to begin with. When they're starting to make the pottery, the blessings as the process goes on, hearing the artist talk about the spiritual aspect of why she did this, how each piece has its own soul, and
wow.
and how she puts this all together. Really, really something different. So, and that leads then to a meal at Elmer's home, Elmer and his wife, Deborah. And, oh my gosh, New Mexican food is much different than Southern California, which I was brought up in. I was expecting it to be somewhat the same. It is not. It's actually better. It's really, really good. And we were served family style, and we got to talk to one another and hear about things. And, what they do with red chili and green chilies, watermelon tamales will, always be something sacred in my mind. I mean, the food was just absolutely amazing. And then we went outside and we took a tour of the Pueblo. And at first I thought, oh well, there's some dirt and there's some houses and some trees. And then Elmer starts weaving his story of how it all comes together and why it's the way it is, and where it's going and where it's been, and I don't know, the mind shifts, right? The mind tells the eye to stop just seeing dirt and to see, the how it all comes together, why it comes together. And that was my tour of the Pueblo. I'm really, really glad that Joanne was able to put that together for us and put it together in that way. I understand that hopefully I'm correct, Elmer, that tour that I took, the one-day tour, is open to the public. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
You can buy it off. You can, yeah. It's so there's, if you go on the website, you can take a look at all of their tours, and there's lots of them, and there's a variety of them. And the one thing that I would like to do when I return is go on a sacred feast day, because I think that will be, oh yeah, that should
she
just
wants
be
more
absolute.
of that food.
Yeah, I want more of that food. I want more of that connection,
Please
It's
tell
just
Alan that
really
his
interesting.
photos, your husband Alan took some amazing photos, and we were looking at the food going, okay, it looks so warm. It looks warm and warming and good for the body. I wanted to ask on the feast side and the food side, Elmer, one thing we saw when we were in Bandelier National Monument, but on the other side was they were showing the gardens and being very circular, and we also saw in Rail Yard Park, we went on a tour with the Conservancy, and they have what they called a waffle garden, and it looked also very similar to me from what we saw in Chaco Canyon, how everything was so circular. In Aztec ruins, we went there too. It just seems it's circular, but it's for the gardens as well as ceremonial sites, right? So you're growing mostly in a circular format. Is that what happens at your Pueblo?
Mostly in a circle, yes, it is, and mostly ceremonial in the early days. And they utilized the waffle system in the early days just to conserve more of the water as well, and try to capture a lot of the water that just comes off the rain and anything that does come in. And that's why you have the waffle system, where you only have a small portion or a small plot that you can actually grow different types of vegetables, I guess, in those early days. But there's still a lot of pueblos here in New Mexico that they're actually going back to that system, or they continue to use that system because it's real productive.
And also on the art side, Linda was talking about seeing the pottery. You also own a gallery, right?
Yes, we actually started our gallery several years ago, and then this is how I began to start knowing the different artists that we have here in New Mexico. And we actually represent over 125 different artists.
Wow.
And Jason, that's how I met Jason, and we became pretty good friends and everything. So I know what his artwork is, what it entails, and what the meaning of his artwork versus other people like those that do pottery, the traditional ones, the meaning behind that as well, and those that do sculptures, the meaning behind that as well. So a lot of the artists here in New Mexico, there's always something behind it. There's always a meaning. There's always something religious or ceremonial related to those artwork. It's not just to do it.
And
it's
also for the materials. The materials are
and
special
the materials
too.
where they gathered, yes. And there's a lot of it. Like I say, even the sculptures, they'll use natural stones as much as they can in nearby mountains. They'll go out there and look for it. And same with the artists, the paints and natural paints that they'll find out in the hillsides or whatever from the natural plants that we have. So there's a lot of natural things that are still incorporated into a lot of these traditional arts that being done here in New Mexico.
It's really fascinating about Santa Fe and the art scene because we went to the International Folk Art Museum, which was just mind-blowing. There's sculptures everywhere. The public art system, and we've got a feature on that on nationalparktraveling.com, as well as in the Blend on blendradioandtv.com. You'll see our public art features. Santa Fe was listed in that because even the Capitol building go in the Capitol building, and there's I think it's over 300 artists represented in there, all from New Mexico. So art is a really big deal. We've got all the galleries in the plaza in the downtown area. Joanne, where did the art thing start? Was it coming from the Pueblo history, the art that was happening there that started Santa Fe becoming a art destination?
Certainly our Native American artists of the area and the potters and the jewelry makers, that was the original traditional art of the area, the first artists. And then the more modern art that you think of and the art galleries and the artists that came in started in the 1920s. Artists were moving from the east here to New Mexico for the air and the wonderful scenery and light and great climate and temperature. So the Canyon Road Arts District that we have today, those art galleries started in the late 1960s, early 70s. That art gallery district sprung up, and now today it's one of the largest, densest collection of art galleries anywhere in the country. There's over 100 galleries there on Canyon Road. And there's a mix of art presented today. You can still find Native American art, you can find Western style, and then quite a bit of contemporary, modern sculpture, all mediums.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, everywhere there's art, and it's so well done. And Diva Linda, I know you stayed at the La Fonda on the plaza, and La Fonda, I think it's like actually one of the oldest hotels or inns in the country, and it's right on Route 66, which is neat, right at the plaza. And we got to take one of those tours of the hotel and the art, the story behind the art. They have over 1,000 original pieces in there, but even the headboards in the guest rooms are painted, and I think it's one of the most amazing hotels ever.
I would agree with you. And their shops inside the hotel is really nice too.
Diva Linda.
And their food is, and we've talked about this before, where some hotels get high marks for their rooms and their hospitality and their gift shops, but they fall down on the food and drink portion. That somehow. But this place is following the national trend, and it probably was always this way. But the food was so good, and the drinks were really, really good and very, very unique to them. And we probably should mention also, I got to go on a Santa Margarita. Is that right?
She went on the Margarita Trail, Santa Fe Margarita.
The Margarita Trail. I don't know if it's called Santa Margarita.
Yes.
Oh gosh, but that's thoughtfully put together, and it has a little prize. And next time I go, I'm going to pick up my prize because I went to 5 of them and 5 stops. And there's a little booklet, and each one has a signature margarita. Isn't that wonderful? A signature margarita, all a different. They're wonderful, and each place is different, and that's what makes a place special, attention to detail. So, we didn't go to 5 places and have 5 lime margaritas. We went to 5 places, and they were all different, as is the food and everything else. But La Fonda, getting back to La Fonda, closing up on that, such wonderful people. I love their parking garage. I mean, I know that's odd, but if you're bringing your car, if that's your first place you're going to go and it's an awful experience, then that sort of sets the tone. But it was really good, and the people were really good to us, and the rooms are magnificent. The art, you could just die with the art. And if you go, you really, just like you said, you have to take that tour that they give docents. They're there. It's free. It's wonderful. It's it's all part of the experience of understanding how the city and how the tourist system all sort of came together. I mean, we even got to go to a spa, which was wonderful. I mean, there are so many things to do, so many, and each one is so unique. But when I looked at all the things to talk about that I could talk about over the 4 days I was there, this Pueblo tour was just the most outstanding part of it. And, still again, thanking Joanne for making that possible, and for Elmer, who just makes it so special. he knows everything. He knows everything, everybody. He knows languages. He can tell you who did what to whom, and how we got to today, and spin it and weave the story in such a way that it's not a boring history lesson. It's it's unique, and everything he talks about you can see for yourself. I mean, I'm guessing that people, Joanne, is this correct? I would guess that you, in your surveys, people must come back again and again and again, and there's, you could do so much. What's the average stay for visitors? Would it be 4 to 7 days?
Yeah, certainly. I would say our average length of stay tends to be 4 to 6 days, and we're always encouraging people, if you have an interest in the Native American Pueblo cultures of the area, plan your visit. Check out the calendar of feast days. We have many Pueblos near Santa Fe. There's what's called the 8 Northern Pueblos, and Elmer's Pueblo, San Ildefonso, is part of that. And so from Santa Fe north to Taos, there are 8 different Pueblos that you can visit at different times of the year. They all have their feast days at various times throughout the year and different months. And if you plan your visit to Santa Fe around that calendar to take in one of those feast day events, that's when you really see the Pueblo at its most vibrant and celebratory nature. They have dances, and everyone is out celebrating, bringing people into their homes, making the big feast day meals. So that's a really great way to coordinate your trip around a special event at one of those Pueblos nearby.
I'm looking at the website now, passport to pueblocountry.com. Elmer, one thing, I mean, it just all looks beautiful. I want to come back. I want to go. Nancy and I are just like, let's go. We want to come back. I want to go to the Cochiti Feast Day Tour, because is that tent rocks that you take people to? We didn't get to go there.
Yes.
Oh, Cochiti.
Cochiti Pueblo. Yes. Cochiti Pueblo, yes, that's located just south of Santa Fe, and the tent rocks are in that area, and that's a nice small little hike that you can always go to. And that's something that we like to do, is take people in that area as well. And the same thing, we've given the tribal the side of it, the interpretation, the perspectives of it as well. And also we try to do is try to encourage those people coming in to say, let's do it around their feast day as well. Their feast day is actually on July 14th. And that's really something else to see down in Cochiti as well.
So you take all these tours all over to all these different Pueblos?
Yes, we do. And we try to do it, like you say, we try to plan it. We know that some group or some, maybe several couples are coming in. We like to do it maybe in a 3-day type setting, where they come in one day, get acquainted with everything. We do first thing, just give them a one-on-one on tribal etiquette and a few other things, the Pueblo history and everything. Then on that next day, if the feast day is there, we'll go out there to the Pueblos. And majority of the Pueblos that I take them to on the feast days, I know a lot of them already, a lot of the folks that are out there. And with myself being a former governor, I've worked with a lot of tribal leaders, and I know their Pueblos, and they always welcome us to go over there and visit them on feast days. So when they see me there, they always say, come over to the house, bring some friends, and have something to eat with us and all that stuff. So what I like to do is take them there so they can be in that setting to enjoy it, explain the dances to them, the reason why they do it, and they get a sense of their own, I guess, interpretation of the dances, as well as they come out totally different after they observed some dances and everything, and seeing the people that do dance for that reason. And like I said, there's 2 parts of it that incorporates the feast day. One is they celebrate the religious side, the Catholic side that was introduced in the early 1500s when the Spaniards came in and left the patron saints at each Pueblo. And then the other part is the Pueblo still continues to celebrate their traditional celebrations and using their own ceremonial dances to incorporate that in there. So they blended both cultures into that for this one particular day. So throughout New Mexico, the majority of the feast days, like I say, are based after the patron saints that were left behind by the Spaniards.
Wow, wow. On your website, you have a photo of someone at an oven, and then it looks like big pots of dough. Yeah, is that a special kind of bread? I'm just looking at this going.
That is actually oven bread, and the big structure that you saw that's in the picture is actually called an horno, which is actually a Spanish word for an outside oven. But in our Tewa language, we call that a pante, which is actually translated to a bread oven.
Okay.
Bread oven that's used traditionally by our people before the feast days, several days before, where they go out there, fire it up, and then bake bread in there. In the early morning until about noon, or sometimes they'll bake bread, cookies, pies, whatever they can put in there. So I would say maybe in a large oven, outside oven, something they can do maybe at one shot, maybe 25 to 50 loaves.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
And once you're in the plaza before the feast days, they're walking around, you can smell the freshness of the bread that's around there. So you kind of hang around there, and hopefully you'll end up with a small piece of the bread. But that's our traditional bread that's done for a lot of the Pueblos. And you'll see a lot of that at the majority of the Pueblos. Not just here in New Mexico, but also in Arizona. You'll see different types of ovens. And I do I kind of explain the type of oven, and it's almost like your pizza brick ovens. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
They just fire it up inside, get it hot as you can, then remove all the ashes and everything, and then the heat itself that's retained in there is the one that cooks all the bread and everything.
It's
but
interesting.
It's a wonderful experience as well too. And there is a person up in here in New Mexico, northern New Mexico, that also teaches people to bake bread or demonstrate that as well too.
Nancy, that's your thing. You got to go do that. Nancy likes to bake bread.
Yeah, I'll play in the oven.
I know
that'd be fun.
She's a bread baker.
There you go.
I think it's the kneading of the dough that Nancy enjoys.
Yeah, you get to pound it.
Punching.
And they don't use a great big commercial mixer. They use it by hand. They do it by hand in one of those great big aluminum tubs.
Yeah.
That's how they make the dough.
Wow, it's work. You know, it's interesting. Linda, you had tamales, and you know, being in Arizona and Southern California as well, you know, there's the tamales. I had a friend who used to make, you know, every Christmas as tamales up in Julian in the mountains, and he's since passed. And you know, you remember Clarence, Nancy, and those tamales were huge. It was like almost like burritos, you know. And we went up to, and the photos of the tamales you had, Linda, looked very similar to the tamales that we had in Louisiana. We were up in northwest Louisiana in Toledo Bend area at a town called Zwolle. And Zwolle is known for their tamales. And it rhymes, so it sounds cool. But they have the Zwolle Tamale Festival every year. But they took us around, and the tamales are really thin and different. Like, they look really similar to what you had. And I was talking to her, the one lady there, and she was saying, well, her family's been making them for years. It goes from generational, but it started from the native tribes there. They would only use pork, and that was it. Pork and I think red chilies that were growing out in the wild. And they even did DNA studies to find out about these tamales. I always thought tamales was more from the Mexican culture. So this is interesting to me that it's also part of the tribal culture, right? Elmer, so for your family, that's something that's been going on for years. So it's not just connected. It's connected in regards to.
And it's just handed down from one generation to the next generation. The grandmothers will leave it down to their daughter, then the daughter will leave it to their daughters, and it just goes on. And when they make tamales, they make it a big traditional thing when they get everybody together, not just the mothers and the daughters, but also the grandkids as well. So they get a taste of it at an early age to see what goes on to that. So by the time they get a teenager age, they know how to do it as well. And how they know their little, I guess, place where they have to They're either in the place where they either put the masa in or they put the chili in, and that's their job. So, but they almost like a small assembly line that they'll put together for them, and they'll make anywhere up to maybe 48 dozens or more.
Wow!
Tamales. And that's something normal for a lot of the folks here in northern Mexico, and a lot of the Pueblos as well. And especially this time of the year, during Christmas time, tamales is one of the biggest things that everybody loves to eat. So you'll see a lot of families actually started making them, and they'll freeze them. Come Christmas Day, you'll see a lot of places that you visit, your family, your friends. They always have tamales, pozole, red chili, green chili, oven bread, tortillas, you name it. That's something traditional that you'll see around here as well.
Making me hungry.
But it has its own special flavor. It's not the same as what I got in California or even in Arizona. And I just actually was so inspired by the food of New Mexico. I wanted to do tamales for Christmas. So I took a tamale making class 2 days ago, I think. And it didn't quite taste like the New Mexico ones, but at least I know how to put them together. And like you said, it's a production line, you know. I'm gonna have to involve some of the family here because it's
there you go.
Here goes the diva.
Diva's
putting people to work again.
I'll be pointing. Yeah.
Right.
I know how that.
It's all about that New Mexico grown green chili and red chili pods and powder.
Christmas year round, right? That's the thing. Christmas year round. I mean, you really do have amazing food in Santa Fe. I mean, you know, when you talk, it's an art community, and I think the food to me was just off the hook amazing because there was the cultural roots of it, but it was also the art. It's an art form. The food is art in Santa Fe.
Definitely, it is, and we have the variety. We have quite a few restaurants that specialize in that traditional New Mexican red green chili sauce and various dishes, and then the fine dining, higher end, using some inspiration from the region and creating a new modern, you know, contemporary Southwestern cuisine as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed the food tour. Nancy and I loved that food tour. That was
really good.
Yeah, Joanne, can you tell everyone, can you give a recommendation? I know you have many, but if somebody's coming down, one traditional place to go and one fine dining place to go, what would you recommend?
Sure. So if you're looking for that traditional New Mexican, I really enjoy Tomasita's restaurant. They do their red chili is some of my favorite because they use the pods and they grind them down and blend them and just makes a really bright, fresh, flavorful red chili sauce that they do there. So Tomasita's restaurant is my go-to for traditional New Mexican. And then fine dining, you know, the highest and best rated restaurant in Santa Fe is Geronimo on Canyon Road. And they are using ingredients like they have a famous dish that's elk that they serve, and just really amazing flavors and gourmet dishes there. So Geronimo on Canyon Road, if you're looking for that special occasion, high-end gourmet meal. Another spot right in downtown, Coyote Cafe is another great location. They were one of the first to do modern contemporary Southwestern in the early 90s. So they're still going strong and have a good following.
Now, Elmer, where do you, when you go off your Pueblo, where do you go and have a meal?
Where do I go to have a traditional meal, or well,
what's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite restaurant in Santa Fe?
I guess if I go to Santa Fe, I try to pick some of the restaurants that are pretty locally owned, that I know that have been there for years, and try to taste their chilies as well too, to see which ones are good. I kind of like the one that there at the Vargas Mall. It's called Atrisco's, and they do traditional food as well, red green chili, and they have different types as well. So I like that one. Or the other one that I'd love to go is to the Shed as well. But
we always hear about the Shed. Absolutely, yes, yes.
And the other one that I would recommend if you want to try, kind of almost like a high end, but it also serves more of the Native American traditional food as well. They incorporate it into their menu. Is at Hotel Santa Fe. Oh yeah, their restaurant there. Their food is excellent as well. I've eaten there before. The hotel itself is actually partially owned by one of our northern Pueblos tribes, Piccary's Pueblo as well. So their food over there, like I say, they have I think it was quail, they have elk meat, they have buffalo as well, and incorporated into their meal, which is very, very good. They have a a squash? There's a squash soup that they make over there, which is butternut squash, which is that is excellent. You'll love that if you ever go there. But those are the ones that I like to go there.
You know, we went to La Posada on the Santa Fe food trail the walking food tour that we went on, and they were served. It's like little samples as you do these walking food tours, and you need to walk because the food is good, and you finish your sample. But they had pasoli, and that's something that I kept getting was pasoli. When it took me back to what we ate in sampan beans when we lived in South Africa and Kenya. There's everybody has a different name for it, but it was very, very similar to that, right, Nancy? Sampan beans. It was that maize. Yep. But they had this base. It was like a red chili base and pork. And oh my gosh, that I can still taste it, and I want it. I want it right now. But pasoli, is that something that you eat in your culture, Elmer?
Yes, pasoli was actually used in the early days as well. And one of the crops that they grew a lot was a lot of corn. So they had to figure out how to use corn, how to store it, how to dry it as well, and get them through the winter months and everything. So when they dried it, they knew how to dry it. And come with spring or winter time, summertime, they took it out and they knew how to rehydrate that corn and use it in other ways as well. So they utilized corn in different ways as well. They grind it, like I said, they cooked it in different manners. So that's how the staple of corn became one of our major ones here in the Pueblo area. So we still grow native corn in a lot of the Pueblos as well. Different types of corn is grown as well. But we utilize the corn quite a bit in a lot of our traditional foods. And a lot of the Pueblos still use that as well. So that is a traditional staple that we still use.
You know, it's amazing when you look at like the cliff dwellings. I don't know if you've been to the Gila Forest area down in southern New Mexico. The Gila cliff dwellings, it's this big hike up. And then you have to go up the ladders like you have as well at your Pueblo. You go up ladders. And we were thinking about how do people go up and down? And it's like, talk about a workout. It's like you're going to go, you're going to garden and then you're going to, harvest and then you're going to carry it all the way up. And that's, it's amazing. So when we were at Bandelier, and I know, Diva Linda, you experienced the same thing. There's the ladders going up and into, where people would go and stay. But it's amazing to me that, would you cook up there, or is that mostly for sleeping, resting, going up and down those ladders?
I think the ladder was used in the early days, and a lot of our people that lived in those cliffs on the side of the walls, and they actually cooked in some of those areas. And the ladder itself was used mostly for defense. Okay. So at nighttime, or if they knew that there's some type of wild animals around there, they pulled that ladder up so nobody or nothing can come up in that particular area where they live. So it was used also as a defense mechanism. And here at Bandelier and the other sites that we go on hiking, I always show the individuals that it's not just a ladder that they can go up and down with, but there's small footholds along the side of the cliffs and handholds that they actually use to get up and down. So the ladder wasn't just the only way to get up and down. So they used a lot of different ways to do it. But they did cook in their little caves there. And then the tour that I took some of the folks in, I showed them there's several caves that in that area that you could see that natural smoke on the side of the cave itself. You can actually get in there. And the difference between standing outside and the inside, there's probably at least anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees difference. And the majority of the cave that they lived in was facing south, so it could face the sun to keep it warm as well, cool in the summer, warm in the winter. So there was a reason why they did a lot of these different things, and a lot of the other sites that I took them, the ones up way on the top, where the majority of the Pueblo sites was located, was because they could see for miles and miles on all different directions. So when they journeyed out to go different areas, they knew where they were at. They knew how to come back. They picked their GPS in the early days was actually just picking out the different mountain ranges that were there. For the south, the west, the north, and the east as well. So they knew how to do is get back in the area. So in those tours that I do, when I take them up to the different sites that we have up there, I try to just have them stand there for a few moments and just say, okay, we're going to go back in time, pretend that you're here among our people. They're just running around, quiet, real quiet, nothing else was available. Just imagine what they will be doing around this area. So those are things that I try to do, is take them back and kind of experience that with them, and then just educate them as time went on. This things that happened, how we evolved from there, and how we came to this area, and why we moved down to the current location that we were at. So I like to do is, like I say, educate and make sure that I engage the people that I take up there to engage in a lot of discussion and make sure they ask a lot of questions, because I want them to leave here with some knowledge and some kind of that they're educated about more of the Native American that they live around in this particular area. And then doing the walking tours at the Pueblo is another one. A lot of people come to the Pueblo, they walk around there, but they have no idea what they're looking at.
Right.
Yes, there's a building, but they have no idea what it's used for. So I do is I thoroughly go through that whole area, explain the plaza, the kivas that we have, and everything else that we do have in that particular area. So it's more of an educational experience for everybody.
I think it's really important because that's how people get to understand each other. Bridges gaps. And, from our experience, I know Nancy and I going like through Chaco and to Bandelier and Aztec ruins, you go and there's an appreciation and also a wonderment of how was everything built? How are these ceremonial structures built? You're in awe of it. And I think when you go through a cultural experience like this, you start to have understanding. And in today's society, we're so addicted to our phones and to the internet and to everything's so fast that we lose like observancy. We lose that bit of consciousness. We lose that bit of things get taken for granted. And what I have learned from our visit in New Mexico, northern New Mexico especially, was everything is important. Everything has a function and should be respected. It's a very respectful place, and it's from the people, So I think that's important.
It is.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Joanne's santafe.org website. Joanne, can you explain it? It's so comprehensive. So if somebody has been hearing all the wonderful things that we've been talking about, there's even a section where you can plan your visit. But talk a little bit about, so somebody just showing up or coming back, how important your website is. I mean, it's one of the best I've seen in a long time. It's really good.
Yeah, definitely. We have our site broken down. You'll want to, if you're planning a trip to Santa Fe, you'll want to jump on santafe.org and head right to the Things to Do tab. And then that's going to be broken down, and that's where you'll find a section for art and culture, Native American, Pueblos, the outdoor active activities, visual arts, performing arts, calendar of events. So you can really get a sense of the various attractions by category, as well as different interests and things you might want to pursue doing while you're here.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I love this part. I love this part on your planning your visit where it says we're in an ancient city with parking solutions that match. It helps to know where the city parking lots and garages are located. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm telling you, as a shopper, I really appreciate that. I mean, if I'm spending my time having to figure out where to park, you know, I'm not a happy diva. So I'm just saying that was really a smart thing. I know little things make me happy, but you get a PDF of a city parking map. Whose idea was that? I ought to give them a hug. I just want to say that was just really made my day.
And it's so walkable. I love the downtown plaza area. It's so walkable and beautiful. There's flowers everywhere, and it's just. That's got to be the #1 shopping destination for you. I was thinking
about it. Yes, definitely. So we encourage people to find that good, easy city parking lot or garage, and then leave the car and walk around the charming streets, in and out of shops and art galleries, all around the historic plaza area for about 3-4 blocks in every direction from the plaza. You'll find great shopping and interesting businesses to walk in and out of. And then Canyon Road is just about a half a mile from the plaza, or not even a half mile, about a quarter mile. And then the road where you'll walk and see the galleries is a half-mile stretch. So again, not very far. Things are quite close. Because we are a 400-year-old city, the roads and streets were designed and built before there was a need for large vehicles to go around. So they're very compact and close, and you can just wander and enjoy your time all around the historic district of Santa Fe.
And I have to say too, Nancy, one of our favorite things, you sent us to the Santa Fe National Forest, and when you're in Santa Fe, you're feeling very high desert, but not high desert. And we couldn't believe, I think it was 10-minute drive, Nancy, that we did?
Yeah, short.
Yeah, short drive. All of a sudden you're in this like pristine, beautiful, green, lush forest, the Santa Fe National Forest. And I know you've got skiing up there. And I mean, it's just 10 minutes from the plaza. I could not believe how fast that scenery changed. But I do want to say this, there's cowboy culture there too. Because when we were up there, remember this? I couldn't believe it. Oh no, because we got up to the top where the ski area is, and there was a cowboy on horseback running his cattle through the forest, across the parking lot and into the forest. And I'm like, dude, no way. It's like, film him. I did. And he was cute. He was wearing his chaps and everything. So you never know. When they say the city different, you don't know what you're going to expect up there. I didn't know. I didn't expect cowboys up there.
Yep.
Such cute
New Mexico
ones.
has we have a long history of ranching and, rangeland where they move the cattle around and take it up in the summer to higher elevations and then bring it back down to lower elevation areas in the winter. So, you just never know what you might find around the Santa Fe area.
I'm going back to Santa Fe to get myself a cowboy. Hey, he had nice boots, Diva Linda. Nice boots. I know.
Oh, all the boots that you can buy there, and oh my gosh, the shopping. and I just want to say, I know this is odd, but the shopping is much more meaningful once you've visited a Pueblo and had a tour, and they talk about how the pottery is made and how things interconnect. And so then when you go in the shops, you go, oh, I know how they did that one, or where the clay from that one came, or the dolls, what's the history of the dolls and so forth. So I'll tell you what, this is a really special place. I hope anybody that's listening to this, and it's good, you know what, it's good for a single person to go. It's good for couples, and it's good for families. There's, and I think all ages, especially because the town is so flat. It's easily walkable and just visitor friendly, just in general. Tell us about the temperatures, Joanne. That's what I was surprised. Your year-round temperatures are really not anything like I expected. I was expecting Arizona temperatures, and that's not at all. That's not true. You're much more mild.
Yes. So we Santa Fe sits at 7,000 feet elevation here in town. So we definitely have more of a mountain climate where you're going to have 4 seasons, snow in the winter, and still that, blue sky days, but we get cold temperatures, and the average winter day, I would say, is in the 40s, dropping down into the 20s at night. But in the summer, conversely, we are not quite as hot or warm as other parts of the Southwest. So mild 90 degrees at the warmest, low humidity, and just a really good climate to be out hiking and biking. And then in those summer days, the evenings temperature's going to drop down again into the 50s and 60s overnight. So very few places will have a lot of air conditioning on. Most of the time you'll just use windows and get the breeze coming in in the evening and cool off the homes and businesses. Patios, wonderful rooftop patios to sit on and have a margarita. Watch the sunset.
Thunderbird Bar and Grill.
I know. We had fun there.
Tanya Ortega, she runs the National Parks Arts Foundation, and that's how we connected with Jason. She sent us to the Thunderbird. Her family's from the, the Ortegas, right, Joanne? Ortega's at the Plaza. Yeah. There's the jewelry place, and you go upstairs. We went up there. We went there twice, because they have this bandstand. I was going to say it's the bandstand boogie in the Plaza. They have this awesome concert series in the summer.
Yes, live music concert series.
Oh my gosh, we saw Shiny Ribs, and he was just on Austin City Limits the other night. Shiny Ribs was playing, and all kinds of bands, and the Plaza itself just was all twinkly lights, and that's magic. I love that. Free. It's like, isn't it the state's largest free music series that happens?
It is almost every Wednesday through Saturday night for 8 weeks in the summer on the Santa Fe Plaza in the bandstand. Great series of live music nightly to enjoy. And there's, like you were saying, many restaurants that have patios overlooking the plaza, and you can kind of eat and hear the music, or just be right down there in the action, dancing right in front of the bandstand with the crowd.
I loved it. It's one of my favorite things. And there's food trucks, and and there's a lot of jewelry being sold right there. Just saying. But thank you, all of you, for joining us on the show today. Really appreciate it. And everyone, again, Linda's article is up on nationalparktraveling.com. Just type in Linda Pueblo and you'll find it. And you'll see her in our expert department as well. It's also featured in the January-February issue of Parks and Travel magazine. I'm going to give out the websites again, too. So for Santa Fe, go to santafe.org. Pretty easy, right? Did I get that right? Is it santafe.org?
Yes, yep. santafe.org.
I'm having a blonde moment.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm easy with that. Also, for the tours, go to passportpueblocountry.com and go meet Elmer and go on a tour. Nancy and I are like itchy-feeted now. We're going to get back to New Mexico and go up to see Elmer, and also go back to Santa Fe. I want to go back to the concert series, and I want to go find my cowboy.
Yeah.
Also,
can I add?
Sure, go ahead.
can I add something to that as well?
Sure.
The website is passporttopueblocountry.com.
Uh-huh.
And then for being, I hope that, like I said, people that are listening to this show, we decide to have a special rate for those that are calling in, or if they do get on the website.
Nice.
Our normal rate for our tours are $225, but we decided to throw in a little special rate for a 10% discount. And if anybody does sign up for a tour or whatever, is also just mention the code radio 10, the number 10, and you'll get a 10% discount off of the $225. And our phone number is 505-301-3956 as well. And we do have an email address as well, and it's at info@passporttopueblocountry.com. So if anybody wants to share anything or ask any more questions, we'd be glad to answer more.
So that's Radio
and
10.
One of the things,
that's the Radio 10, because we'll make sure it is up on the article too. Okay, good. Because
if they mention that, they'll get a 10% discount on the rate. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, everyone, passport to pueblocountry.com, and then the code is Radio 10. And we'll make sure that's linked up in the articles for you as well. Also, to keep up with Diva Linda's adventures, follow her. Get a load of her website name, allingoodtaste.info, because she is the diva. And of course, thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our guests. Thank you also, listeners. Our shows air Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sundays. You go to bigblendradio.com and choose where you want to listen, because we're on everything from iHeartRadio to Spreaker to YouTube to iTunes, Apple, Google, you name it. We're all there. And so join us there. And also, we're going to play some music. We always love to play music for our guests. And today's song is called, because, Santa Fe is so beautiful, those beautiful blue skies. This is called Great Blue Sky. It's by NAMI award-winning artist Evren Ozan. And you can keep up with his music, ozanmusic.com. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.